right. Welcome back in episode 4 of Box to Box. Thank you again for joining, one and all. My name is Jose. I am joined by two awesome friends, Andre Gutierrez and Alina, aka ggSK. Excited to chat about everything from transfer mill rumors to the global highlights from this past weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. But make no mistake, today's episode very much about the transfer deadline day, which is coming. We're right around the corner, and we're excited to kind of toss in all of the rumors in the mill, so to speak. For those who don't know, Box to Box is presented by GOLZtv. GOLZ is where you find all of your free soccer content 24/7. It is coming this fall. Head to GOLZ.tv for more information. Now, guys, let's jump right in. We're recording on a Sunday. I'll be honest. I don't want to call it a hangover by any means, but I'm slightly more tired today than normal. But look, the football world does not stop. I'm super pumped to get a new episode in today. Big reason why episode 4 coming at the end of August. We got transfer mill rumors, and transfer deadline day right around the corner. I want to dedicate a lot of this episode to transfer deadline day because, like many of us fans around the world, it's a super exciting time. Teams are starting to kind of form into that mold they're going to look like for at least the first half of the season. Between now and winter, this is the most action we're going to get within the transfer window. So I'm really pumped to talk about it. And today's episode is going to focus a lot, almost primarily, on the Premier League, the most high-profile league in the world. We're all super excited to talk about it. I think I want to go ahead and just jump right into the action here. First and foremost, when we think about the Prem, I think right now in 2022, it doesn't get sexier, more dramatic than Manchester United. A lot of transfer activity already, but we have some very high-profile signings to kind of hit the rumor mill right before the window ends. And look, the way we're going to do this today, I think both Alina and Andre have fantastic takes and opinions, some not so great ones, we'll see. But I want to make sure that we give them a chance to show me, as the make-believe technical director today, why Man United needs to make a specific signing or potentially move some folks out of the door, get some players out of the fucking club and onto their next home so they can actually progress and move forward as the Premier League giant they are. So that's what we're going to do today. Andre and Alina are going to put their manager caps on, show me why they need to make a signing one way or the other, or again, show some people out the door. So let's start with Andre here. Look, Andre, last few days of the window, lot of players. I mean, as it is every fucking window, lot of players linked with United. And they've already made some signings. Casemiro just came in this past week, but
Big one.
I think there are still more than a few holes. Let's pretend I'm the technical director, man. Convince me of why they need to make. Let's start with which signing they probably need to make. Let's maybe keep it to one, because I think that they're one of the few clubs out there that has a ton of fucking holes to fill. I don't think we have time in the day to get through all of it. But let's look at high impact signings. Who's your pick and why?
Great question. First and foremost, I will give you that they've made some decent signings. I think Casemiro elevates that midfield. We've talked about this before on the show. I still think that they need another midfielder. And I'll leave the big one out. I'll let Alina talk about Ronaldo because obviously, elephant in the room. But in terms of the midfield, what we saw yesterday was kind of a glimpse into what the season's going to be like with Casemiro playing, getting some minutes. But it's all about the supporting cast. So for me, it's not about, filling that hole at CDM as opposed to providing more depth to that midfield. Yes, you've got Bruno Fernandes, you've got, Fred, you got McTominay, you got Eriksen. How do you rotate those guys? I don't know. If I were the coach and if I were Ten Hag, I would still bring in another kind of big name signing in the middle. For me, it would have to be Milinkovic-Savic. So we've talked about him on the show previously. We were talking about him offline. One of those players that gives you, box to box, kind of a complete midfielder, maybe a little overpriced. I think Alina mentioned that, he's kind of a slave at Lazio right now, right? At a certain extent, where he's just kind of like, you can't go anywhere. He's overpriced. But if there's a club anywhere in the world that could make a statement and bring him in, is Man United. So that would be my pick for me.
So hold up. So if he's overpriced, that's a great point. If he's overpriced, How do you convince, say I'm your technical director, and when I think of overpriced, I'm thinking he's probably ranging somewhere 80 million plus above.
80 or above.
And look, man, I'll be honest. As someone who maybe is an advocate for the Glazers, who hashtag Glazers out, they want the owners out. But maybe I'm that director, and I'm saying, look, there's just no fucking way I'm going to drop 80, 85 million on a player when we just got Casemiro. Why the hell do we
Mm.
need this guy?
Yep. No, that's a good question. I mean, you're already making bids close to 90 to 100 for Antony, who's a player in Eredivisie. Nothing against the Eredivisie, but he's the number 4th ranked probably winger in Brazil right now. He's not going to get minutes at the World Cup, and you're paying 90 million for that guy. I think a more proven take would be to grab somebody from, Serie A, somebody who's been, like I said, proven for his national team, captains the side, has more experience, and can provide instant impact to the lineup. So, yeah, it sounds overpriced, but I think anywhere between 80 to 100 million. I mean, you're already offering that to Frankie de Jong, right? The whole Frankie de Jong saga that we've seen this whole summer has not panned out. So why not go ahead and just make a statement, put money on the table, close it out in the next 3 days?
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. Okay, I like Milivojevic. I think he's a little bit overpriced.
Yep.
Maybe we need, if I'm putting myself in United shoes, maybe we need to move players on.
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it easy to say McTominay and Fred are those guys? Like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Or is
McFred?
there? Yeah, or maybe. I mean, is it a hot take to say Bruno doesn't belong in that midfield?
No.
With like if we were to bring Milinkovic-Savic in, we
Yeah.
already have Casemiro. Who's the first? Maybe the first 2 guys, if you want to push to 2, that you push out the door before the window's over, so that your midfield looks a little more the way you want it to, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's a very crowded midfield, and there's a lot of depth there. But you can argue that a lot of those pieces don't fit, and
Yeah.
maybe one of those pieces can make way for a guy like Milinkovic-Savic, who you're probably going to have to somewhat break the bank for. So,
Yeah. And probably
who do you
start,
think probably?
right?
Yeah, and probably start. You don't spend 80
Yeah.
million on a player to just have them ride the
Just sit on
bench.
the bench. Yeah. 100%.
Exactly. So who would you move on?
Yeah, I would say McTominay for me. He's actually been a player that I've thought about for over the last couple seasons. I mean, he had his glimpses of hope, and he was sparkling here and there, but he's just not consistent enough for me. I think he moves on to
Fair.
another PL club, like potentially, I don't know, like if you're looking at mid-table or down, like Leicester right now could probably use somebody like McTominay. And so I think he moves on. I think Fred, there's something about Fred that kind of makes sense for United because he plays with Casemiro on the national team, and so if I were to move somebody, it would be McTominay first. If you're the technical director and you tell me, hey, we need to move 2, McFred, I'm sorry, but your time is done. You guys go as a
McFred.
package. I think to your point of Bruno Fernandes, I think Casemiro is going to give him that little like resurgence that he needs. I mean, if you think about Bruno Fernandes, what 2 seasons ago, the guy was banging in goals, assists. He was captaining the side. I mean, he can do it, right? And he's got
Yeah.
Ronaldo. He's got supporting cast. I think he kind of got lost with the whole, we're not good enough, ideology. He got lost with the whole Pogba saga as well. Pogba's out, cleaner locker room. I think Bruno Fernandes has another resurgence.
I feel like Bruno's always he's playing with so much of a chip on his
Yeah,
shoulders that he almost feels the need to try and outshine other players. At least that's how
yeah,
I felt when he played with Pogba. Now I
yeah,
think maybe it's different with Ericsson, right? But maybe he feels the need to be the goal scorer too, and that's why like it's difficult for me sometimes to look at Bruno as like the most cohesive option leading my
absolutely.
midfield because sometimes Ericsson does it for me. I mean, sometimes I look at Ericsson, I'm like, okay, if I have someone like Casemiro, someone like Milinkovic-Savic helping them, having like a 4-2-3-1 with Ericsson at the 10, and then having speed on the outside,
Hmm.
tried and true striker above him. I don't know. I mean, to me that sounds sexy as hell, but maybe I don't know. That's probably a pipe dream. I think Bruno has to remain on the side. Ten Hag
Yeah,
obviously wants to focus around him, so
yep,
we'll see. I agree with you though. I think McTominay probably is just a low hanging fruit. Get
yep,
him out the door. He's inconsistent, and you already have a better version of him in
correct.
Casemiro.
Yep,
I agree, man. That sounds good. Milinkovic-Savic, maybe. We'll see. Let's see who makes the better case here. Alina, same question, but let's start with who comes in first. Andre leaning more towards midfield, depth, and of course having someone to pair well with Casemiro to kind of give them stability in the middle of the park. Is that really what they need, or do they have a more high impact position available out there?
I think because of the fact that they already spent 60 million on midfield, I think they need to fix another position just to kind of like balance it out as opposed to have like a world class midfield, bang average center backs, and then just a bang average attack, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I think for me, my priority, if I was the coach, my priority would be to bring in another like attacking player, but on the wing, because you already have Bruno Fernandes, you already have Ericsson, so you have that kind of support to link the midfield, kind of like with the more attacking midfielders, if that makes sense. And then Casemiro can be the guy that gets you those balls, wins them, and then brings them forward. And I think if you have someone like Anthony, for example, or any other like technical winger that can do some damage on the wings and attack and get those crosses in, get those, whatever dribbles, chances, just create chances for them.
Okay.
So I think I would bring in Anthony. Now, whether he's overpriced, that's a whole nother discussion, because I do think he is very, very overpriced. But I feel like everyone's overpriced now, right? You feel like
Players have so much
if
control.
Yeah.
It's fucking
yeah,
crazy.
if you're
Like,
slightly above average, you go for like an automatic 60 to 70 million, which is crazy nowadays.
yeah, but
But
that's a
yeah,
great point
that's
though. Like the overpriced thing. Here's my thing. I'm a big value guy. Like I don't look at a price tag and I'm looking like, okay, that guy just costs way too much money. I think it makes more sense to look at, okay, what makes that £100 million worth it? Like what kind of production? If he had double digit goals and assists, is that worth the 100 million? If he had I don't know, if he somehow comes in and takes Rashford's spot. Ultimately, he's playing better, he's combining better, he's creating more opportunities on goal, whatever it may be. Like, what makes, in your opinion, Alina, what makes that £100 million worth it? Is there a stat that makes it worth it, or is it just the eye test, general level of play for United's attack as a whole?
well, I think one of the main things is we see some clubs getting player to make a statement.
Mhm.
They want to just get the fans in, make them a little happier, just get the general vibe up again. And I think because they got Casemiro already and they have a few other Brazilian players, I think it would be a perfect fit for Anthony. Even though, as Andre mentioned, like he's like the third or fourth choice winger currently in Brazil,
Mhm.
so he's not the starter yet. But a guy like that can come in, take his time. He already has Brazilian teammates with him, possibly more if others come in, but he already has like a great one in Casemiro there, so they can definitely link up. And just like the general vibe it would come in. I don't know. I think they could do a lot in terms of like media stuff, because that's another important thing. That's why Juve signed Ronaldo 4 years ago, and
Yeah,
he took their stocks up. He took, I
just
think they're like social
more
media
profitable
reach.
as a club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's like very marketable, and it's someone they can just kind of say, okay, here's what we're gonna build the project around. And I think Anthony would be that guy. So it's
yeah.
not only about the quality that he might bring in, because we're just a little iffy about him. We do think that he's a little overpriced, but teams don't play players only for their quality nowadays. They also buy them as a statement, as a marketing statement, and
Yeah.
as just a project statement as well.
Yeah, and not to mention, right? Like he also has that familiarity with Ten Hag. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
that's super important because Ten Hag, as much as he's the tough guy that United need, and they really want to embrace him as, I don't know, maybe the modern version of Fergie. Who knows? But I think that it's important to set him up for success, and
Yeah.
there's no better way to do it than to give him a level of familiarity with the players he's already coached. He knows what to
Mhm.
get out of them. He knows how hard to push them, and they can set an example for those who haven't played under Ten Hag before, which is a lot
Yeah.
of them. And so super important. I think if I was a technical director and you were making this case to me, it's saying, look, if I'm going to spend 100 million, I really hope you think that this is the guy. Like this
Yeah.
is the fucking guy. He's going to change a lot of things here. It may not come out in the stat sheet per se, but our team just needs to be, and our attack just needs to be in a significantly better place after we drop this £100 million. So
Mhm.
that's probably the one obviously word of caution. Now, same question, other side of the coin. Who goes out? Is it one player? Is
Mm.
it two? Obviously, if you add Anthony, Alina, there's now who?
Yeah.
Anthony, Alanga, Rashford, Sancho,
Yep.
maybe Martial when his Achilles injury comes back. the numbers start to kind of add up, and then you have some youth talent that they're looking to introduce at some point too. So
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5, maybe 6 options to really go with if Antony comes in. Who should go out the door?
Well, here's the thing: if United are dropping close to 100 million on Antony, they gotta somehow balance the books out. And unfortunately, I think the next guy would be Ronaldo because he's already considered a problem, which is it's crazy to think about, right? A guy that's like probably the most prolific striker in Champions League
Yeah.
being thought of as a problem, and that's just outrageous to even mention. But I think I think it would make sense for where he is and where they are right now because it's clear that he's not happy. And when you have a player that's not happy, you cannot leave him at the club no matter what because it's going to
Yeah.
reflect on how he acts with the teammates, whether he's playing, whether he's starting or he's on the bench. Once the locker room vibe is not there, you start to have a lot of problems. And I think if you ship Ronaldo out, you might get maybe like 10 million, whatever it is, for him, 15, 10 million. Then you'd be saving a heck ton of money with his salary as well. How much does he make now at United? 30,
It's
20 to 30 million?
no,
No,
it's probably like more. I think it's close to half a million a week.
half a
Um,
million a week. Because at Juve he
yeah,
was making 30. But
I
at
think it's
Juve
slightly more in the Prem. Yeah,
yeah, the foreign players in Italy get like a tax break for the teams at least,
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
can pay them a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, it's like 35 to 40. That's an instant 40 million that can be injected into Anthony, and technically speaking, they would only be paying 30, 40, whatever. Um, if they also want to kind of calculate who else might be leaving before
Mm-hmm.
the
yeah,
the transfer window closes.
yeah.
So they
True,
have
very
the
true.
money. Yeah, if you like think about it that way, like if Ronaldo leaves, that's a big chunk of that market that they would need, and they could reinvest in a player that would not only start the project and get the project rolling again, but it would also be good for like social media
Now, let me
aspect of it.
let me ask you a question. Where does Ronaldo go if
Yeah,
he does go?
man, I feel like the guy's been pretty much offered to literally all teams every week, like
Hey,
since like
Barcelona, you
May.
want
He's been offered. Yeah,
I think
he
he was
offered
offered to
himself to
Barca, bro.
Bayern.
to?
Yeah,
Nah, get
Yeah,
out of here, bro.
he was offered
Get
to
out of here, bro.
PSG.
Atletico
I think
Madrid,
he
like
was
Yeah.
re-offered to
everything.
Juve actually on the down low, but they said no.
Oh man, I mean, you got Vlahovic and Morata. I think you're
Milan,
good.
yeah, I think he was offered to both Milan clubs as well, and they weren't
Jesus
interested.
Christ.
And obviously, we heard Dortmund, we heard Sporting, on and off. And
Sporting,
then
yeah.
yeah, and then the last club that he was offered to was Napoli. So
Ooh.
I think that'd be really interesting. I personally think that Ronaldo's going to do so much damage if he goes to Napoli because the way they play, these guys like get 3 or 4 goals on average a game. So just imagine if you plug him in there and he's just going to be banging goals. And their defense is good too. I know they lost Koulibaly, but
Yeah.
they got a new defender. I'm not sure what his name is. But he's
Lights out.
settled right in.
But
Yeah, he's settled right in.
what if the argument is Napoli's doing so well? Why ruin a good thing? Why inject
Right.
Ronaldo into that team when they're averaging 3-4 goals a game? I'll agree with you. Like, to start the season in the Serie A, they've looked really fucking good. So like
Yeah.
that's the devil's advocate here is like, do you want to disrupt that? It's kind of the argument made almost from the point of like LAFC here in the MLS, right? They got
Yeah.
smacked
Mhm.
by Austin FC. We'll talk about that later. And the argument for them is like, oh, well, they were already number one in the league prior to Chiellini and Bale and all these players coming over, and now
Yeah.
it's it's causing some waves, some friction, and they're struggling to find a way to make it all work.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
can Napoli or can any team out there right now take a 38-year-old Ronaldo and plug him in, even if they're doing well, and keep the same success, or if they're not doing so well, does that elevate them? I mean, I don't know. It's a really tough thing to say. You almost have to conform to Ronaldo's playing style. You may have to change your system entirely. I don't know. That's where my mind goes. Is like I don't know how realistic that really is. Because I think personally he would be a huge asset to any Champions League club out there.
Yeah.
But for me, it's so fucked up to say. I just see him coming off the bench. Like I don't know if he's at a point in his career anymore where he's an automatic starter because he doesn't do some of the things that in modern football you have to do. You have to
Yeah.
press. Press is almost necessary because of how teams build up play now. You don't want to just give them any amount of room, right? You want to be able to press. It's something that straightforward. It's just proven he can't do. Statistically speaking, he was like one of the worst in the Prem last season.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. He'll give you 30 minutes, like from the 60th minute on, of kind of top level. But to your point, like if he starts a game, I don't know, he'll give you 60 average minutes. You know what I mean? Like he'll get a goal here and there. But yeah, there's the younger guys who are just like continuing to run like left and right. So yeah, it's an interesting take for sure. I think it elevates the club on paper. It elevates that threat in the attack on paper. Obviously, it sells a shit ton of shirts, right? Like the marketing side of things. Just having Ronaldo, every club would be, would be a pipe dream. But I think to your point, if you're actually being logical about and objective about the signing, my man has to be comfortable with coming in, for the second half.
Yeah, I almost want to take Mendes, like his agent Mendes, by the hand. Like, look, listen, bro, talk to your boy. He needs to understand that he's almost fucking 40, and that like he just doesn't do some of the things that these managers and these teams need their starting players to do, and that's fine. That's not an indictment of him. Father Time is undefeated, bro. That's just how it works. But like he just understanding that, look, you can have a massive impact just coming off the bench in the final 20, 30 minutes and nabbing that game winner or that equalizer or just that injection of world-class professionalism to take a team over the line and win the match. I think that that's where he lives.
I think that also another factor that plays into it is the fact that it's a World Cup year. And Ronaldo wants minutes, right? As many minutes as possible. So that conversation, if you were having this conversation next year, it'd be completely different. I feel like he would be more willing to say, okay, fuck it. Like, I'll take some.
Who's his backup for Portugal?
Andre Silva.
Oh, yeah, he needs minutes. I don't know all needs minutes, bro. Nothing against Andre Silva. It's just that, like, where's he at? Leipzig? I don't know if you're going to look at someone like him versus someone like Ronaldo.
I think Ronaldo is going to start and be called up for Portugal, whether he gets the minutes or not.
Yeah.
I don't think
you have to bring it.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree, Alina. Yeah, to get back to the point, I think Ronaldo's probably the easy one to not even easy, because he was the best goal scorer they had last season. But I think no matter what, he's the most realistic. Get him out, start the rebuild the way you wanted to as Ten Hag. And as much as he's sticking up for Ronaldo, I respect him. Like, he's saying, no, he's part of our squad. He's still world class, still can help this team a lot. I fucking love that. That's great. You need a manager who protects their players. With that said, though, I think deep down we can all agree that he's like, look, man, I need this fucking guy out of here. We just need to do the rebuild my way, and it needs to be fresh from the start. So, Antony, I like the pick. I like Milinkovic-Savic too. Both are fucking overpriced in my opinion, but it's because it's United. Like, 100%. Everyone knows United has money. Yeah. They're going to squeeze them for every drop that they possibly can. But I think both options would definitely give United a giant boost. And I'm totally okay with both McTominay and Ronaldo leaving. All right. Same game, different club. Moving on to Liverpool. Let's start with Alina this time. I think going to Liverpool, they're in almost a really weird predicament, right? In the sense that world-class team, very world-class team, has been that way for several years now under Klopp. I probably got as close as you can to winning a Prem title last season without actually winning it. Yet, starting out the season in one of the slowest ways that we've seen them start. And they look almost tired, right? Like they need some injection of depth or youth to really kind of get this team, or creativity maybe, just to get this team kind of moving back in the right direction. At least we were all thinking that prior to them beating the shit out of Bournemouth 9-0. And look, it's Bournemouth, so I don't think we're going to read too much into that. But nonetheless, right? Final days of the window, Klopp himself has come out and said, we need maybe a new midfielder or a new player in general to kind of kick things back up, creatively speaking. So let's dive into it. Alina, one high impact option as a signing that Liverpool can make that will get their team back into some form of a title race.
Look, if I was the coach, I would get the Liverpool management together, the sporting director, whatever, and then I would be like, I need a midfielder. I think they really need some sort of injection in that midfield, because it's predictable. It's
Very predictable. I'll be honest.
Very predictable. Yeah, it's like I feel like whenever I watch Liverpool and the balls in the midfield, I feel like I'm gonna know what their next step is, right? And
when Thiago's not there, when Thiago's not there, it's just so almost boring and pragmatic. I don't see.
Right, that's
I don't
the right
see
word.
it.
Pragmatic. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we were talking about Milinkovic-Savic. He's not really linked with Liverpool, but you never know what's gonna happen. But I think that guy would plug in perfectly because he's that box to box that has the flair. I was telling you guys earlier, he reminds me of like a prime Pogba.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's overpriced. Actually, I think he should be 100 million, not 70 or 80. But the only issue is he's like 27, I think, 27, 28. So he's like not that young anymore.
Yeah.
And more importantly, they just dropped 100 million on Darwin, right? So
so why not?
I mean, because I think it's just because it goes against Liverpool's wage or their transfer strategy, right? They don't like to spend a ton on high profile signings. They'll try and find a way to get someone that fits the mold, creatively speaking, on a free or on a really good deal. I don't know. I think it's I don't see them dropping 80 million plus for Milinkovic-Savic. I don't know. It's a really tough sell. I think they need.
Yeah,
I agree with you. They need someone to creatively just spark up that midfield the way Thiago did last season when he came in. But look, let's say it's Milinkovic-Savic or maybe I don't know, someone who's like that, a little bit like a Frankie de Jong type player who they just goes box to box but has the ability to see passing lanes that others don't. But who do you take out? They have a lot of old talent. James Milner, Hendo's getting a little bit older. Fabinho is just keeps getting more injury prone. I mean, Alina, if you had to pick someone, this obviously this team is class through and through, but who do you drop? Is it easy to look at the old heads, or do you see someone else that's maybe a little more low hanging fruit there?
I personally wouldn't take one of the old heads out. I wouldn't really sell them because that all depends on who's coming in. Because if you have a midfielder that's a little younger, then you need those other guys there to just kind of ease them in and not throw them right away. Kind of play alongside them, give them tips and tricks, for lack of a better word. Similar to what Di Maria is doing right now with some of the younger Juve wingers.
Experience.
Yeah, experience. And I don't know. I don't think the Liverpool old players are that old yet. I do think they should be staying 1 or 2 seasons, but they need someone to come in and kind of mold that player into Liverpool quality midfield.
Yeah. Almost someone like Thiago. I don't know. I love Thiago, but the guy's always fucking hurt. And it was that way at Barca. It was that way at Bayern. He's just, it's kind of easier for him to just get knocks here and there. Also, just probably the way he plays. But I would love to see another creative spark come to Liverpool. Something interesting about Liverpool, too, by the way, I don't know if you guys kept track of this at all. I was reading on Reddit the other day that for whatever reason, Klopp's teams in their 7th year with him just experience a ton of friction and a ton of almost slowdown. It would happen at Mainz, it happened at Dortmund, and now we're entering our 7th year, his 7th year with Liverpool, and he it's the worst start he's ever had to the Prem. So I don't know if there's a weird thing with the Magic 7 with him, but I do think they have to make a move. If they don't make any moves heading into deadline day, and nothing miraculously happens before the end of the window,
they're in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. Not that I think Liverpool doesn't make top 4 or anything. I think they find a way to get back into it, but I don't think that they're anywhere near City, for example,
top
at
2,
the end of the season.
No.
Yeah, it's just that race may be between City and Arsenal. I don't know.
By the way, I saw that tweet as well, and the thing that I took out of that the most is the fact that Klopp's been coaching for 21 years. It doesn't feel like he was.
That's crazy.
Either of the 3 teams that you mentioned for that long. 7 years at each team.
He had some fucking studs to come through. To be honest, he's coached some fantastic fucking players, and I don't know. It's some of the coaches, even the German coaches that come out of the Bundesliga, especially at that time that he did, whether it be Tuchel or anybody else, even Nagelsmann coming behind them. They're personalities and everything that they've been able to achieve in the last 20 years has been just fucking awesome to watch, man. I love it
for sure.
But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy to think that we're just getting old as shit because Klopp has been coaching for 21 years, man.
A
It's
long
insane.
fucking time, dude.
We'll see where he ends up next. I mean, I don't even know. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, Klopp's on his way out of Liverpool, but it's just like,
Yeah.
There's a trend, historically speaking, it's been there. Okay, well, look, I think that, I agree with you, Alina. I think it has to be a midfield option. I think they have probably more than a few players to look at across Europe. Andre, same question. Do you think that that's the position they need? Could they use someone up top to replace maybe Sadio Mane and losing that little spark? Everyone on social is trying to create that picture that, oh, Sadio Mane is the reason that they're struggling to start the season and the way that they have. So I don't know. If I'm your director, man, who's that high impact signing that we can make, knowing what Liverpool's transfer strategy typically is? Is there someone out there that you think fits the mold?
Yes. I do agree with Alina that they need kind of like creative midfielder, more of a number 10. You don't see old school number 10s anymore, if you think about it. I was thinking about it over the weekend.
Describe that player.
Like a false nine?
Yeah, no, not like a false nine.
Not a false nine.
Like an actual CAM that has no true defensive responsibility, if you want to call it that.
Oh,
that
free roam.
That is allowed to free roam and be creative as fuck. Like, think of the actual true number 10s of back in the day. Like, for me, the one of the last ones that I saw was Mesut Ozil. Mesut Ozil was the type of player that was silky smooth on the ball. He was creative. He had a fantastic left foot, set pieces, long distance shots. I saw it at Madrid, obviously firsthand, but you don't see players like that anymore. He plays at a certain speed, at a certain pace. He's not necessarily required to drop back to defend. And he's one of those players that, the coaches were like, at least Mourinho was like, you can play anywhere on the field. Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Left side, right side, in the middle, drop as like you said, Alina, as a false nine, go all the way down to like a number 6, or even play up top. So anyway, that's something that we can talk about later. But the art of the number 10, I think, has been a little bit lost in today's systems. I think for me, an impact signing right now would be Lucas Paqueta. Lucas Paqueta
rumored to be closing in on a West Ham deal.
Yep. West Ham, that's insane.
I know, which is crazy because they just got their first win earlier this morning, but they're a club that are hungry for points right now. Lucas Paqueta gives you that kind of, I don't know, impact, I guess, on the final third. He's
a true 10.
He's a true 10. He's proven it in Brazil on the national team. A lot of folks didn't really know about him because he's playing in the Serie A, or in the Ligue 1, and obviously, it comes with Farmers League. Like, can he do it on a cold? Can he do it on a cold night at Stoke? But I do think that he gives that spark that, for example, Thiago would if he was healthy. The other one that they've been linked with that I actually find really interesting, he scored a banger actually this weekend, is Ruben Neves from Wolves.
Bro, he scored a fucking banger this morning against Newcastle, and then St. Maximin like fucking one-upped him a little bit. But it is what it is. Yeah. I agree with you on the 10 front, though, bro. I think you don't see it. You don't see it that much anymore. So if somehow the Paqueta deal falls through with West Ham, which it shouldn't, but do you think that he's deserving of a big club like Liverpool, or is West Ham more suited for him?
I think he's ready for a big club. I think the fact that he plays so well on the national team. Again, people can come out and say, well, they're playing in the CONMEBOL, they're playing Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador, week in and week out. It's like, that doesn't mean anything to me. With so many Brazilian players that could break into that starting 11, the fact that he's playing really well in that position, I mean, I think he's ready for a club like this. And not only that, but bringing in Darwin Núñez, like, that gives you so many options up top, right? Like, the guy's going to make runs. He's going to, drop down for the ball. Like, I don't know. I think he's ready for it. If West Ham do get him, that's a snack for them. I'm not going to lie. That is a player that is going to probably light up the EPL for sure.
Is he Coutinho 2.0?
I think he's better than Coutinho. I do think he's better than Coutinho. He's a more well-rounded player than Coutinho. Coutinho has that flair, right? Like, everybody fell in love with it at Liverpool.
Straight hair Coutinho, bro. He was something else at Liverpool.
He was something else. And then he went to you guys, and obviously we know the story. But I do think that Paqueta is a more well-rounded player in the sense that, like, he could probably play even as a winger, right? He's one of those players that's so versatile that you're
like
not
a Foden.
Yeah, kind of like a Phil Foden. Like you can play him anywhere, plug him in. Like to your point, Alina, he can play as a false nine if for whatever reason they want to sit their number nines. An interesting thing that you said though is how people and journalists, some journalists, are saying that the reason why Liverpool have been so bad is because of Sadio Mane leaving. Like, dude, you still have
one forward
Yeah,
leaving.
literally one forward. And I mean the Diogo Jota impact, sure, but you also have Luis Diaz, who has been lights out since he got to Liverpool. So it's not like they lost Mane and they didn't have any replacements and they didn't have anybody else and they're like, oh my god, like we don't have any wingers. Like they still have Harvey Elliott can definitely play up there, right?
Yeah,
He's one of those.
bro. He had a banger of a fucking
He
goal
got a,
against
yeah,
Bournemouth.
he had a goal.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like they don't have replacements for Sadio Mane. So I don't want to hear that rhetoric of like, oh, we lost Mane and now we're doomed. But
I will say though, that was one of the worst pieces of fucking business I've ever seen. I think it was like 30 million pounds they let him go for. You could have charged easily 50 or 60. Like I just don't understand why they let him go to Bayern. Someone like Bayern.
Yeah,
bro.
Like, do they even need him? I don't know.
It's not even just that though. 30 million, bro. 30 million's like I can name some like lower level players that are 30 million, like worth 30 million. Like Gordon is about to move from Everton to Chelsea for like 70 million pounds. Yet Sadio Mane left at almost the height of his game for half that. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, I agree, bro. I think Paquetá, man, I really hope he lights it up for West Ham. Because I think what'll happen is like he'll be there for a couple seasons and then like he'll end up fucking moving to a top 4 club or something, like, or who knows, maybe overseas to Madrid or something. I don't know, who knows, but I think he's a true 10 that is versatile, that can come in and be the impact player that I think personally. I was a big fan of Coutinho at Liverpool whenever he went. I think at the time they were struggling for midfield options and it was like him, Gerrard, and like Suarez, and those three were like finding a way to make it work attacking wise for Liverpool. Liverpool has significantly more options now. And someone like that would just almost create a gel that, like I said, that Thiago I think kind of had about him whenever he came to the team last season. Who's moving out, Andre? Who do you think? First off, let me ask: does Liverpool need to get rid of somebody, or is this simply an addition move? I kind of agree with what Alina said. Like, I don't know if maybe they necessarily need to move someone on. But let's just let's, for shits and giggles. Who do you think, if they were going to move someone, who would that be?
Dude, so they have a lot of players that. The thing about Liverpool midfield is that they have a lot of players that pretty much are the same. If you think about it, Henderson, Milner, Fabinho,
they fit a mold.
They just like even before Wijnaldum left, right? Gigi Wijnaldum, you almost had like that rotation of those three in the middle, right? With Hendo and Milner. And now you bring in Fabinho.
Though. He's so fucking like workhorse.
Workhorse, gives you more like oomph in the middle, for lack of a better term. I think with the addition of Thiago, then that midfield became a little bit more versatile than in previous years. I agree with Alina. I don't think you necessarily need to like drop somebody out, but I do think that Fabinho's best years are kind of long gone. I could see him at a smaller club to kind of play that specific CDM role, mid-table in England. If I had to drop somebody, it would be Fabinho.
Isn't Fabinho one of y'all's boys? Isn't he a Madrid player? Madrid product? Did he come out of Real Madrid?
No, not Fabinho. No,
I don't know. I have to look that up. But I think
now I'm gonna look it up.
I was like, I'm pretty sure he had a little stint there. Maybe, I don't know. But Fabinho, he's kind of an interesting value add for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just against getting old.
You were right. He was Real Madrid. He played for Real Madrid Castilla for 1 year.
Hey, bro,
he never broke into the first team for Real Madrid.
Well, you better own. He's one of yours, bro. You better own that shit.
Was he in the youth system?
He was for the Real Madrid Castilla as a B team. He was there for a year, but he came out of Brazil, where Fluminense for a year, Rio Ave in Portugal for a couple of years, went to Real Madrid, didn't pan out. That's when, now I see it. So he got loaned out to Monaco. That's where I remember him, at Monaco.
Monaco.
That Monaco team was insane. Mbappe,
with Bernardo Silva,
Bernardo Silva. Yeah. So that was 2013, and then Monaco kept him for like 5 years before Liverpool. So good call out.
So
man.
He was another Brazilian talent, but like nonetheless, man, I think, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like Fabinho plugs a gap that they just don't like.
Yeah.
they don't have a stopgap for. But like I agree, he's also very injury prone.
Yeah.
Maybe you can, and so is Thiago. Maybe he's Brazilian, bro. Who knows? I don't know. But I think at the end of the day,
So then let's not bring in Paquetá. I'm kidding.
yeah, I don't know.
You're clear.
I look at like I can't be Hendo because Henderson does so much defensively for sometimes to cover like Trent or other players who are pushing forward.
I mean,
Milner,
my man can play right back, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, facts, bro, facts. Yeah, I don't know. I think Liverpool's kind of a tricky one. I don't know if they make a move before the window's done or not. And if they do, it's someone who adds a creative spark. I don't know if you go after someone who's just going to create more of the same of what they already have now. It has to be someone who has that 10 flair, so to speak. But look, let's move on to another club. And again, we're going to keep it with the Premier League theme. Chelsea. And again, this is kind of our final club wrapping up the transfer section today. With Chelsea almost in that same boat as United, in a sense where I didn't know what to expect from this team coming into the season. They've had kind of an up and down start. Even the result this past weekend on Saturday, they squeezed out a result 2-1 after against Leicester after going down a man, which is fucking crazy. But that comes on the back of losing 3-0 to Leeds when it looks like the almost like red cards are kind of a mainstay for Chelsea. We'll see. I don't know, but they need a little bit of help on multiple fronts. Let's start with Andre. I mean, if we keep it to the same theme, I feel like they have more than one gap to fill, but let's keep it high impact only. Who's the high impact player that you're looking at? Like, is it a midfielder? Is it a winger? I mean, they've already brought in Raheem Sterling. They brought in Cucurella, who adds more from the defense into the midfield attack. But is there someone that, and look, they can't score a lot of goals right now like they could last season. Maybe that's what it is. But I don't know, bro. What are you thinking? Who is that high impact signing for them?
Dude, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, you've brought in a massive name in Raheem Sterling, right? Having played at Liverpool, obviously the things that he did at City, national team, you name it. The wings are set. I mean, you've got Cucurella. Dude, I think losing Lukaku was as massive as, I don't know. It's one of the most impactful losses that I've seen.
Would he have gotten better this year? Would he have gotten better? Would he have scored more goals?
I think so. I think people needed to be a little bit more patient. I mean, obviously there's a certain level of comfortability in the Serie A, right? With Inter, and he's already proven it. But they need a number 9, man. Timo Werner gone, right? Who's your number 9? I mean, I think that they need to bring
Kai
in
Havertz, bro.
Get out of here, man. I don't want to hear it. That dude was forced to be a number 9. Let's just put it that way. They're like, oh, we don't have a number 9. Who wants to play there? Kai Havertz is like, I guess I'll do it.
I guess
whatever.
Yeah.
So
what even is he really quick? Is he a 10? Is he an 8? Like,
no,
what does he fucking do?
So when he played at Bayer Leverkusen, he was like a number 10. Like he basically just free roamed in the middle. And again, he got to the EPL. They needed him to step up, and he's like, all right, I guess I'll fill in these shoes. I think he's done that also for the German national team too, to a certain extent. So
I just don't know what he's kind of like a jack of all trades. The guy just fucking floats everywhere. I just don't know what he's supposed to be playing or doing on the field.
Right. No,
he's everywhere.
So to bring in type of player, I would say a number 9. There's rumors of Aubameyang. Maybe that could probably
playing hardball on that one.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I mean, that would also create crazy, like, I don't know, like the fans would go nuts, right? Going from Arsenal to Barca and then going back to Chelsea. How would you feel about that?
Bro, it's fucking tough, man. Like, here's where I stand as an Arsenal fan and as both. Literally both teams that I support, he's played for both. And he's had, with Barca, it's tough because it's like 6 months of playing. He came in and filled the need. It's what we needed at the time. We needed someone to come in and just offer experience up front. And he did that. And he scored an El Clasico, and he did what he was supposed to do. Yeah. So there's no hard feelings there. With the Arsenal thing, bruh, 90 plus goals for Arsenal.
Yep.
Major rival. I see both sides. I can see how some fans are like, especially the British fans, right? The die-hard gooners are, hey, you can't do that. You can't go to a rival club. But me,
you can because of money, but
yeah. But also, we got the best. We got his best years. I think. Yeah. I think we got his best years. Is he going to be that guy for Chelsea? I don't think so. I think he's going to offer, a strong level of experience, someone who can get those tap-in goals for them. Because right now, it's not like they need a fuck ton of help. They're missing the goal by this much, bro. Literally this much. Sterling, Kai, like they're Mason Mount. They're getting this close. And they just can't put him in.
Yeah.
I think that they just need that number 9, whether it's like Ronaldo or Aubameyang, to just do that, be that
Bang
guy.
him in. Yeah.
Yeah, bang him in.
So on the flip side, though, one thing that I did want to mention is not only we're talking about who they need to bring in. We talked about the wings, right? How saturated they are, how there's too much depth. I think a player that needs to move, and a lot of USMT national team fans are probably going to hate me for this, but Pulisic needs to move. I've been thinking about this for a while. It's been kind of off and on, but after they brought in Sterling, I was like, where is my man going to break into the starting 11, if at all? We were talking about this before, we went on air, but I do think that a loan to a club like Leeds will give him a lot of confidence. He needs the minutes right before the World Cup. We've got 3 months until the World Cup starts.
He
He's
really
Captain
does.
America,
He's going
man.
to be Captain America. Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
he needs
dude.
more time.
He's got to play. And I think Leeds is a perfect system for him. Jesse Marsch is going to embrace him. We lost Rafinha, so we kind of need that little spark. I mean, Jack Harrison, you're not going to take him out of the starting 11, but you bring in somebody like him with Aronson, and then, you've got Rodrigo up top. I mean, Leeds could be dangerous. So
it's kind of spicy, yeah.
Just saying, if somebody needs to work on that deal, just feel free to bring me in, whether it's club or player.
Yes, sir.
I'll take my fee,
man.
and there we go. But that's kind of my take on it. Yep.
Yeah, I like it. I think I kind of agree. I think it's it's tough, man, because you look at even previous seasons, I feel like there'd be more available maybe on the market from a striker position. It's just right now there's not a ton of options that are in the final days of a window financially feasible. So you almost have to rely on these old heads who offer a lot of experience and a lot of what you need, but you're not going to get very many years out of them.
Alina, what about that Osimhen from Napoli? How do you think he could fit in at Chelsea? Could that be
that's actually a great question.
I think he would fit in greatly at Chelsea because he's a classic number 9, right?
Yeah, he is.
He can score with his head, he can score with his leg, but I think for a team like Chelsea, I don't know the priority of getting that number 9 was for them, because I feel like if it was high on the list, they would have done some sort of deal in June, July, as opposed to the last 2 days, because they lost Lukaku pretty early. Yeah, they lost him so early. They had at least a couple full months to just kind of fully focus on getting someone, a class, an actual classic striker. And I this morning I heard they're linked with Zaha, who is not.
Oh, really?
Wilfried Zaha. Yeah, he's a winger. It's not going to hurt to get him, but the Aubameyang deal is just kind of dying off. So I think no matter what they do, they have to get another attacking option. And if Zaha is the next thing they can do, they can't get a number 9, then why not go for it?
Is that your pick, Alina? Who do you think they should be bringing in? Because for me, I think forward's a layup of a pick. I think for me, it's I don't know, man. When I watch Jorginho and Gallagher and Mason Mount play together, there's zero creativity. I don't know what it is. If half the time Jorginho's fucking with his cane as an old man out there, just hobbling along, and then Gallagher's
he scores the pens though.
Scores the pens right jump. as he hops into it. I think Gallagher looked great at Palace last season, but he just seems fucking lost in Tuchel's system. And then Mason Mount, to me, just looks like he makes terrible decisions. Not that he's inherently bad, but I think he opts sometimes to shoot before he passes. And they just look like they're disjointed. So, Alina, is that your pick, or do you have another one? And if not, who would you maybe look to get rid of?
Well, actually, I don't agree with your take on the Chelsea midfield, because I like the balance that they have. They have Jorginho, who's a little more creative playing out the back, and then they have Kante, who can win you those balls and be a really aggressive.
But Mount, Kante's hurt though. But Kante's hurt.
Yeah.
Who?
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm looking at it from a perspective of a healthy full 11. Their actual starting for full 11. Mount, I cannot really comment on because I haven't really seen that much from him or of him. And I think if they actually get that striker, that number 9 or whatever, in addition to the wing, then Kai Havertz can drop back a little bit, play that 10, and be that link that is the creative link in the midfield.
Bingo.
So I don't think they need a midfielder that's creative, because they already have that. In terms of people going out, I think Ziyech should leave and find himself a better club, in my opinion, because I don't know what it is, but I feel like he almost never starts, and he's kind of just lost some confidence. I feel like
I feel like I feel like in the
he was
Prem,
linked with Milan.
yeah, he was
Was
linked
he?
with Milan, and he's
Yeah,
also
he was
linked
linked with Milan.
with a move back to Ajax. That's another one. Is like apparently he was entertaining that a lot. I think it's tough because actually, if Anthony moves over to United, I can see Ajax prioritizing him because there's a level of familiarity there.
Yeah.
But I think with Ziyech, it's tough in the Prem specifically. I think in other top 5 European leagues, he's definitely an impact player. I think in the Prem, it's difficult because there's so much physicality that goes into it, and
Mhm.
he's just not the fastest winger. He's more of an high level intelligence player where he sees his vision is phenomenal. He sees things and passes and lanes that open up before anybody else does. But he does it from those wide positions, right? And sometimes depending on the team
Yeah.
and the system, if a coach is prioritizing speed and athleticism on the outside, he's just not your guy. So
He reminds me a lot
it's
of
tough.
Riyad Mahrez. They're kind of very similar players.
Yeah, Riyad's his cuts though are just fucking insane,
Yeah.
and I think his ability to do some of the things that Pep asks him to do,
Mhm.
especially from a finishing standpoint, are crazy. I feel like Ziyech is more of the spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw
Free
him in the Champions League,
kicks.
right? Like just
Mhm.
the crazy long shots, the 30, 40
Set
yard
piece. Yeah.
lobs, balls, and the set pieces. Yeah, it's just
Mhm.
he's that guy who has the vision. Probably could be a 10 if he wanted to, but I
Yeah.
think he just operates better from the outside. So
Mhm.
we'll see. We'll see what happens with
How do
Chelsea.
you how do you feel about the whole Anthony Gordon rumor?
I think he's wildly fucking overpriced. I think he's a
Thank
good
you.
player.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about him. I think the English tax is fucking real. I think the media hypes up English players more than any other
100%.
country in the world.
Yeah.
It just could be me. He scored yesterday. So I'm not gonna take shit away from him. I think there was a stat that I saw that in the 3 seasons he's been playing, he has like 4 goals or something, and like 5 assists or something along those lines. It's very minimal. Granted, Everton over the last few seasons has been fighting the relegation battle, kind of season in, season out,
Mhm.
and they don't have too many pieces to feed him. He's a good player, but I think he's worth half of what he's being projected to go for, like
I
a
just
30
yeah.
million plus player.
I just don't think Chelsea need him. I mean, to Alina's point, if you bring in a 9, then just drop Kai Havertz and there's your 10. Like there's your solution right there. You don't need Anthony Gordon, unproven, young player to spend that much money on him. That would not be a smart business move in my opinion.
I would take that money, and if I was Tuchel, because he doesn't have a director right now. Keep in mind, right? Like
Yep.
he doesn't have someone to go to, be like, all right, what's our transfer strategy? He's kind of building it with Bowley himself.
Yeah, I
So
know.
if I don't know, from my perspective, I still firmly believe that they're. I think that they have a good midfield.
Mhm.
I think when they go up against teams like City, who are very creative in how they move and how they open up lanes behind the creative those midfield outlets, I
Yep.
think they're going to be exposed. I think they need someone like Frankie would be perfect, in my opinion. I think he dethrones Gallagher. I think he dethrones Mason Mount. And Jorginho's not bad inherently, but he needs to have the right pieces around him. And when Conte is not in that lineup, whether it be due to injury or
Yeah.
due to rest, they're exposed, and it's so easy to kind of pinpoint where the gaps are.
Mhm.
I still think you need somebody. I think Kai dropping in, it's like Pogba playing for United. Like he's a good midfielder and he's
Yeah.
great attacking wise, but I think that he leaves his defensive mid left for dead half the time, and I don't know. Frankie doesn't do those things. So if you're going to spend 70 million on somebody in addition to your 9, because
Mhm.
that's the rumor right now,
Mhm.
I would move on guys like Ziyech, like Pulisic, guys like Gallagher, and try to make room for another creative midfielder like Frankie. And you could get him for 70 plus million,
Mhm.
and get someone like Obama Yang. You could spend 100 million and get 2 instant starters almost.
Yeah.
Less than 100 million, that's for sure.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe they do it, maybe they don't. But I think that Anthony Gordon, to me, he's, I don't know, Everton through and through. I think it makes sense. I don't know if he's ready for a big club like Chelsea.
Yeah.
Alina, maybe you disagree, maybe you don't. I don't know, but when I watch him, he's just not anything fucking spectacular. I mean,
Agree.
he's a great player, but I don't think he's worth what Frankie De Jong is worth. I could be
Yep.
wrong.
No, he's definitely not. I think at this point, because it's so late and they're trying to get him, that Everton are just trying to get us like the highest possible bid, right? Because it's so like late notice, and
Yeah.
Chelsea are just kind of they're in a corner right now.
Yep.
They either pay up, they overpay for something that it might work out, or they're not going to have any sort of like starter or impact sub coming in. Which honestly, I don't think they have an impact sub at all.
Mhm.
That's so
At all.
fucking sad to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going because that's a great place to leave it at that. All right, so we've talked about United, Liverpool, Chelsea. I think those are probably like the low hanging fruit when it comes to the holes that we see in transfer strategy or just in their team at the moment and how that could be impacted in the final days of the window. But I do want to leave the door open for potentially one more team here. So who's the one team that we haven't talked about yet that we think needs to make a move, right? And on top of that, who is that player and why? Let's start with Andre really quick. It's not going to be a long segment at all, but maybe you got your eye on your team in the Prem, who is they're maybe on that cusp of that title or that top four race, or maybe it's to avoid relegation and just stay in the Prem. But is there a team that you see, and who's that move they're making?
Dude, for me, it's kind of an obvious stake. It's kind of sad to see, honestly. Leicester City, man, they're bottom of the table, winless after 3.
Losing players like crazy.
And losing players like crazy. I mean, you and I were kind of talking about this offline, but after they won the Prem, they didn't really make any big name signings. I mean, they lost players, right, to bigger clubs. Like they lost Maguire. They lost a few players, that were impactful and obviously allowed them to win that title. Dude, they need somebody now. They need probably another number 10. I think James Maddison, Drewsbury Hall, they're pragmatic to an extent. They're decent midfielders. Not going to lie, have them in my fantasy team. So I respect the game, but I do think they need somebody to come in, spark the midfield and just create goals, man. I mean, Vardy can bang him in. He's a proven goal scorer, but he's just not getting the service that he needs.
He's also like 34 or 35 years old.
Yeah.
Too. Let's not forget that shit.
100%. But I mean, the guy can score, with his eyes closed. So it's not a Vardy problem. But I do think they need to bring.
They also have Ian Nacho too. Like it's not like it's just him. Yeah. So they have striker options. I do think that they need more midfielders. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my team.
Yeah, I agree. And look, they're about to lose Fofana, right?
Yeah,
Fofana's about to move on to
How are they going to replace
Chelsea.
Yeah,
they'll probably throw in Didi in the back or something. I don't even know what happens, but yes, I agree. Brendan Rodgers needs to be going to his director the way you're coming to me now. I'm like, hey, we need a fucking move. We need either a midfielder or a center back to replace Fofana. Like, you can't leave me stranded like this in the world's most competitive league. There's no way we're going to be able to survive this relegation.
They're so exposed right now.
Yeah, bro, it's fucking crazy. Alina, which team, which player?
I'm going to go with a team that doesn't necessarily need an addition, but I do think it can help them push for my predicted top 2, and that's Spurs. Here's what I'm thinking with them. I think, because every time like I try to watch some of their games or catch some of their games or like look at the lineups, I don't think they have an impactfully, I don't even know if that's a word, impactfully enough sub to come in for Son, Kulusevski, Kane, Perisic. Because I feel like these are like their kind of like starting attackers, and at like looking at their bench, I don't see any sort of spark if one of those players needs rest, if one of those players gets injured. And with the Champions League, it's going to be
right.
Yeah, but is he? I don't know. I feel like they need. I
need
something else.
I thought. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think they need someone else, and we got to keep in mind like the Champions League and the World Cup coming up. The Champions League is going to be every week pretty much until the winter winter period for their World Cup. So we're going to be seeing a lot of injuries if those players are consistently used every time and they're playing a lot of minutes. So I think for me, if they really want to push for like a high good finish, or at least like my predicted finish for them, which is top 2, I think they need something else, because just look at the other top teams subs, especially I would say, especially City, obviously.
Yeah.
You can't compete. You need more. You need more.
Yeah, and look, I've heard some pundits go as far as saying, like, "Oh, Richarlison is supposed to be the guy who's going to take them. He's going to turn losses into draws and draws into wins."
Yeah.
My only I guess retort to that would be, if he's that fucking guy, why was he fighting to survive relegation last season? I think they had Anthony Gordon last season. They have other. I mean, granted, it's Everton, right? They have some small players and
Yeah.
some bits of talent here and there. They're trying to find their identity under Lampard. I mean, they're figuring it out. But I still think that if he was that guy, that talented, 60 to 70 million, they wouldn't have been. He would have been scoring more goals. He would have been turning some of those. He would have been getting at least a point in some of those scenarios where they were losing matches. And I think most fans would feel better, and Conte would probably feel better about starting him more often. Yet we're seeing the same front three: Harry Kane, Kulusevski, and Son. So I don't know. I think Perisic is actually already coming in and getting more playing time than Richarlison because he's experienced and fits the mold better. I don't know if Richarlison was actually worth the money, but I don't know. I agree with both those takes, guys. I think that those teams need to make some moves before the window wraps up here. All right, let's jump into quick hits. And what I want to do is kind of go through this fairly quickly. But we saw an action-packed Saturday, guys. I loved it. I think it was on all fronts from Friday evening until Saturday night. We saw a ton of great results, and we're going to start here with the MLS, Andre. Had some bangers Friday night.
Yeah.
The Cascadia Cup, which we'll get to. But before we got to that, LAFC traveled into Austin, Texas at the Q2 and got absolutely fucking rolled 4-1. Driussi had a badass goal, but I'll be honest, Fagundes had a fucking banger of a free kick.
Nasty free kick.
The entire fucking stadium was just lit up green. LAFC just looked lost. Bale couldn't really get involved. Chiellini didn't come into the last 20 minutes. Vela just couldn't really find the ball in open space the way he's typically used to. Is this a warning sign maybe that Austin is finding their stride heading into playoffs, and LAFC being at the top of the standings, bro? Should they be worried that maybe they're not peaking at the right time because they've seen so much fucking change, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. They've seen, I don't know how much churn in this transfer window with some players leaving, a lot of new talents coming in, a lot of designated players coming in. And it's becoming tough for Cherundolo to figure out what his lineup's going to be. How'd you feel about that, Matt, before we get into the Cascadia Cup?
Dude, talk about an action-packed weekend in the MLS.
Yeah.
The drama continues. Yes, I agree with your takes, man. I think Austin FC is gaining their stride in the most important and pivotal part of the season. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And LAFC, I think, is kind of on the flip side where, they coasted through the spring into summer. They got Bale. They got those big name signings. They had kind of a 10-point gap between first and second. Now that gap is closing. We're getting into September and then playoffs. I do think it's a warning sign, man. I think they need to wake up. They're getting too comfortable. And I also think we're getting too complacent being at the top. They're every time that I see a team kind of coasting at the top, I'm like, if there's playoffs involved, you guys better be ready because there's teams that are hungrier. And I do think that it came down to that. Austin FC being hungrier in that match. Dude, I love did you see the fight, by the way? The little scuff on the sideline?
when Ruthie got... First off, when he got pushed, bro, I was legitimately like, I put myself in those shoes. I'm like, there's no fucking way that as we're running out of bounds like this and there's cement right there, you're just gonna shove me out. Like we're not doing that. And then what's shitty about it too is all the diehard LAFC fans on Twitter were like, oh, look at Urruti come up and try to like trip the center back as he's going for a throw in. I'm like, bro, fuck yourself. He legitimately is like on his way out. Could slip easily on cement. Tear an ACL or something. Who knows, right? And you shove it's so petty to just shove him on the way out. It's like I don't know. I'm there for that energy though.
I know you are. It reminded me of like when the quarterback runs the ball out of bounds and he's clearly out of bounds and he still gets hit. It's like there's no need for that shit. Like, what are you trying to like? What statement are you trying to make here?
I don't know, bro.
Anyway,
I love it. Okay, so really quick before we wrap up MLS, Andre, let me get your take really quick. Sounders lost. Not a ton of noteworthy things there, other than the fact that it's the Cascadia Cup and they lost 2-1. But the big thing was 9th against 10th, which is already a big thing considering how dominant both Portland and Seattle have been in the West over like the last 6 seasons. Do Seattle make the playoffs?
Oh, dude, that's a great question.
They're like in 10th now, I think now. So now I don't even fucking know. But this would be, I think, the first time in their short history that they wouldn't have made it. Do they make it now with like 6 games to go?
I don't think so, man. I think I was hopeful mid-season, but dude, as of the last, 4 weeks or so, they just can't. They're not consistent enough. And
it's tough, bro.
Yeah, and I think they know what it's like to put together a performance good enough to make the playoffs, let alone to push for a title run, right? They've been in title matches, year in, year out. I don't think they make it this year. I think they started the season too slow and it's too hard to catch up. And there's teams mid-table now, like Portland, for example, who are a little bit faster and they're a little bit stronger and they're just showing a little bit more potential. So I do think, unfortunately, to all my Seattle Sounder fans out there, I don't think this is a year.
As he records this from Washington. Okay, so all right, Alina, United was able to register back-to-back wins for the first time since February, which is fucking crazy to even think about that we're throwing that stat out there. But they got it done. They went they went out to St. Mary's, found a way to get that 1-0 win against Southampton. Wasn't the easiest win. I think teams at the top of the table have to have that scrappy win. Those stories. That's what champions do, right, so to speak. But look. United get the 1-0 win. Anything noteworthy from your perspective? Was it deserved?
I think it was deserved. I'm 3 points closer to my free jersey, so I'm over the moon. I'm counting. I'm counting point by point by point. But yeah, I think it was a very important game, actually. This one, especially after coming from the previous week, what happened with Liverpool. And this was like a make or break game, right? Like you would either continue that winning streak and show people that last week wasn't a fling. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, some sort of lock. And I think it's great that they're on their second win. I think it's going to give them confidence, both for the players and for the fans. And I don't know. I think they're going to start racking up those points little by little now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was huge for confidence reasons. You have to almost have that, right? So, again, congrats to United. Hopefully they can keep it rolling. Hopefully this is just some layer of momentum. Keeping in line with the Prem, Andre, Liverpool completely shits on Bournemouth 9-0, almost quashing the rumors that maybe they don't need reinforcements. Maybe them losing to United was a fluke and we can expect more of these attacking performances moving forward. What do you take away from that result?
I think it's kind of a stopgap, especially coming off of that loss against United, which, by the way, predicted here on the show by both Alina and I last week.
You did. Yeah. I will fucking own it. I thought Liverpool were going to show up, and you know what, man? Virgil, everybody on that team just decided
those memes,
to shit the bed.
Virgil when he was defending against Sancho. Oh my god, dude. That shit was fucking, Twitter was lighting up, dude. It was amazing.
But he had the last laugh because they beat Bournemouth 9-0.
That's fine. You're right. 9-0. Yeah. I'll give it to you. Yeah. I think it's temporary. I think, against a team like Bournemouth, it gives you confidence, right? If you're a player in that squad, if you're Klopp, of course, you're sigh of relief. But I don't know, man. I don't think, again, we've been talking about this. I don't think it's enough if they don't sign somebody to finish top 2, let alone, push for the title. I think they finished top 4. I still have them on my list as top 4, but this is nothing that tells me, oh, Liverpool's fixed. We're done. We're back to the old Liverpool ways.
That's fair.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's temporary, right? Critics are silenced for this week. Sure. Speaking of critics, there were a lot, I think, after how they started the season, relatively speaking, having to come back several times. But they did it again, doing what champions do. City showing what they're capable of against Crystal Palace after going down 2-0. Haaland, after being not as involved, I think, in the first half and much of the start of the second half, finds a way to net his hat trick, and City shows who they are, beating Crystal Palace 4-2. Alina, this is probably what we all kind of predicted, expected. Took a little while in the sense that he needed some time to get into the game. But are you surprised that City went down 2-0 to start the game?
I wasn't necessarily surprised because I've always viewed them as a team that's not the best defensively, and if you can exploit those gaps, especially with lack of focus or whatever it is, or their fullbacks literally playing wingers, and I think that they were taken advantage of in terms of that. And I also think that I think the second goal was off a set piece. Mm-hmm. And the marking was just atrocious. I don't.
What was
an
own goal too?
Yeah, but still, you know what I mean. That's even worse if it's an own goal, though.
Yeah. And it was really early too.
Worse.
But it's just that they're lazy, not really defending the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. I feel like they gotta get through some set piece defending training.
Yeah, for sure.
With Guardiola,
when they have to turn it on, they do, but they don't until they need to. They don't.
They don't.
It's almost like they want to be down 1 or 2-0, and they're like, oh shit, now we can play.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's start playing. Let's start playing. Yeah. It was definitely a good game. One thing I will take away is I was waiting to see what guys like Eze from Crystal Palace would look like because he looked good against Liverpool. Had a good game against Villa, but that's Villa. And I think that for this game specifically, I think while they were up 2-0, he was doing things that I was really encouraged by. I think he's going to be at a top 4 club, before we all know it. So great to see players like that come up. Now, finally, to close out Prem stuff, we had Andre, we had my boys on Arsenal do it. Bro, I was nervous the whole fucking game. It was so damn stressful because guys like Mitrovic just make it so difficult to rest. But nonetheless, coming from behind, Arsenal rallies to beat Fulham 2-1. I think this game was something that Arsenal really needed, right? They needed a moment where they had to face some adversity, even if it was self-inflicted. Gabriel getting caught in his feet with the ball, Mitrovic taking advantage of that shit, going in and burying Arsenal in those final 20 minutes where they had to come back. Did you see enough? Because the critique of Arsenal so far has been they haven't faced adversity. They haven't faced a true test just yet. Was this the test that Arsenal needed, or do we still need to see more before we say, oh, they're back?
I think luckily for you as a fan and for the club, the test came in the form of Fulham. I think if you were playing against Man City, it would have been a completely different story. So yeah, I mean, I'll take it as, take the 3 points, right? Like, fuck, it's a comeback. I feel like this Arsenal team 2 years ago, if they're down 1-0, they're down 1-0, and that's how the game ends. So I'll give them that resiliency point. I'll also give them Odegaard, and I literally give them Odegaard.
Yeah, literally. Real Madrid literally gave them Odegaard.
Shit. That guy, when he left, I was like, that's a big mistake. Talk about a number 10 kind of type of player, right? Somebody who
38 million pounds.
Dude, somebody who was kind of one of those players that you just don't find anywhere. And he just fits right into that team, dude. Arteta loves him. I mean, he's the captain of the side now. Fantastic finish. But I do think Arsenal, they needed to be pushed. This is the way that they are probably coming back to reality of like, oh shit, we're in the Prem. Like, we should take every match seriously. So
yeah,
good win though.
And can we also say, I want to just really quick, respectfully, of course, fuck everyone that hated on Ben White when we signed him, and that was a lot of people because he's been so good. One of the most versatile defenders I've seen. He's really playing right back as a tried and true center back, and he's finding ways to combine with Saka that I think nobody ever really foresaw, including myself. He's like a better version of Tomiyasu. Like it's crazy. And Tomiyasu, another guy who plays both center back and right back. Arteta is finding a way to create this. Of course, the culture is better than it's been in years. But on top of that, he's finding a way to get the most, absolutely the most, out of defenders that we just haven't seen since the prime Wenger era, where Wenger was able to convert so many players, like Henry from a winger to a true striker, and Pires from someone who was like more of an interior to a true outside mid. And I don't know. I think that we're seeing, and I think what was the record that he's had his first 100 Premier League matches, and the only manager who has seen more success than him is Wenger, and it's by one match. I think it was like 54 wins to 53 wins in the first insane 100 matches.
I love it.
So yeah, I love it. We're seeing a lot of those flashes. I'm not going to sit here and say Invincibles, but hey, only perfect team at the top of the Prem. We take that shit. All right, moving away from Arsenal and from the Prem. Alina, we talk so much shit, at least I do, about Bundesliga and how boring it is to fucking watch. Yet I got proven wrong twice in the same week. Bayern drops the first points of the season. They draw 1-1. They rally for a draw. By the way, they were down 1-0. But they come back to draw against Borussia Mönchengladbach. I don't know if this was just like they fucking forgot to have breakfast that morning, or if maybe we can expect some life in the Bundesliga. What do you think? More of a fluke? It's kind of a one-off?
I think it was a one-off because I watched the second half, and I think they had like 35 shots to 5 shots. So it's not like it was a close game. The ball just did not want to go in. And that was pretty much what happened. But I think it's good because all the other teams behind them managed to pick up points, and that's always good to see. I think like Union Berlin or something like that. Yeah, Union
Yeah,
Berlin that picked up points. Dortmund picked up
Dortmund picked
points.
up points. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's always good to see. But yeah, I think it was just a one-time thing because they had the shots. It's not like they dropped points because they weren't playing that well. They just couldn't find the back of the net.
it's like Barca week 1, right? We're not going to sit here and freak the hell out when they have like nearly 30 plus shots and they just couldn't find one to hit the back of the net. I mean, the games happen. It's just, it kind of is what it is. Moving on to the Serie A, as far as quick hits go, fantastic game. I only caught the second half. I watched the highlights of the first half, but it was kind of crazy to see Roma and Juve tie 1-1. And one of my favorite headlines from that whole game, I was telling Alina earlier, to hear Mourinho doing Mourinho shit and like going into the locker room and telling his players he was ashamed to be their manager and thinking that was just going to, spark some sort of life from his team when they were down. I guess it did, right? They rallied to come back and draw the game 1-1. Was that result? I'll really kind of ask this to both of you before we go into Champions League reactions and predictions, but was that fair? Let's start with Andre. I mean, did anything? I mean, Juve is missing pieces right now, so I don't want to be too critical of them. Roma is still trying to figure out what identity looks like under Mourinho, but
yeah,
pretty fair draw.
Yeah, I would think so. By the way, what a goal by Vlahovic! Holy shit!
Bro!
That was nasty.
Was that second minute too?
Yeah, it was the first or second minute.
Second or third.
Way to set the tone, my guy.
Insane. Man.
I think it's a fair draw. It's a good result for both teams. Alina, I know I'll let you talk a little bit more about your club, but I do think it's a fair result for both teams. And the whole Mourinho thing, I love it, dude, because I'm just so used to it from the Real Madrid days that I'm like kind of unfazed by it. And when I continue to see him be that way, I'm like, holy, this guy's going to fucking live and die by his own fucking flag, dude. He doesn't give a shit.
He's like trying to be like bad cop or bad dad. I'm like, bro, just relax, bro. I'm ashamed to be your parent right now. Like, I don't know what the fuck that was. Like, bro, what?
Anyway, I'll let Alina talk more about it because that's
Alina. How did you feel? Like, I imagine Juve fans everywhere, even especially without Di Maria, were like, the Vlahovic goal, which was fucking insane. Like, okay, we're up 1-0. Let's find a way to kind of, be professional, ride this out. Kind of an unlucky goal by, giving it up anyway in terms of Roma. But how did you feel about that altogether?
Man, I thought Roma played like shit. It was more like Juve dropping points as opposed to a good draw for both teams because Roma sat back, parked the bus, and then they got a lucky goal off a set piece, which credit to them. They have one of the best set piece records. And I think they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have one of the tallest teams in Serie A. So that might go hand in hand. But man, I don't know. I mean, as you were mentioning, like Juve are missing so many players. Like I think we're missing 4 starters, which is insane to think about. We were missing Bonucci, Di Maria, Pogba, Chiesa. Oof. So that's 4. That's 4 players. And they did fine. They did fine in the first half. Tellez scored an even better goal than Vlahovic. I don't know if you guys got to see it, but it was canceled by VAR because of a handball, which wasn't even a handball. It was like it touched him. Barely. It touched him right here, like in the middle. Like that's not a handball.
Yeah, VAR said it's a handball, so it's a handball.
The ball was bouncing too, and it was just like his guy was like Vlahovic's arm was kind of like extended because he had to defend the guy next to him. I think
it was natural movement. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was natural movement. That goal was that was lovely. I actually celebrated that goal more than I celebrated the Vlahovic. I was like, yes, long shot. I think it was like the first time it was a bummer. It reminded me of like a classic Locatelli moment from the Euros because he scored a couple of long shots in there. But I'm gonna be haunted by that Dybala assist. The volley assist, like not on the volley, like he hit it first time. Yeah, it bounced on the ground, went up, and Bremer and Daniello was playing actually center back, which is interesting.
He's pretty versatile. He can do a lot.
But that was haunting.
All in all, a great game. And for those who didn't hear, by the way, Belotti just got signed by Roma, or it looks like it's going to happen. So like that's going to be, I think Mourinho's getting more pieces. We'll see how the second leg of that tie looks like, the next part of the season. But look, guys, this was a great show. I think what we want to do really quickly, I want to actually dedicate an episode to Champions League predictions and how we want to, how we're going to navigate that. A ton, I think, went into it. I'm kind of pissed as a Barca fan if we're being dead ass, but it is what it is.
Hey, at least you're being realistic, dude. All these people who are like, "Oh,
bro,
fuck it," like we walk in the park. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
it's Bayern and it's
trust
Inter.
me.
Like,
I'm worried, but like I'm also after this past weekend not that not crazy worried, but you should always respect some of the competition you have in your group.
yeah,
Look, I will really quickly just say as far as like Champions League stuff, it was a great draw. I'm so pumped for the fucking competition. I think we all are.
yeah.
We're gonna dive into like prediction stuff, but as far as our individual teams go, really quickly, it just within your groups. Let's start with Alina. Group H for Juve, PSG, Benfica, and then Haifa, Maccabi Haifa. I mean, we could probably let's put them aside for a second. But above or below PSG, what's the prediction realistically?
For Juve? Oh, definitely below PSG.
Oh, come on, man. Give me something. It's your team.
No, I can't. No, here's my prediction. I think we're going to finish below Benfica. That's how bad it is.
Oh, Europa League?
Okay. Yes, Benfica have
Don't
one
give
of
me
the
too much.
craziest teams
I want
right now.
to have a
They
whole
have
episode
youth.
for this.
Oh, yeah.
I know, but I'm just like kind of generally speaking, Benfica have a scary ass team.
God.
They have
That's
a
fair.
terrifying
That's true.
team, and they press, they attack, and that's what Juve suck at, right? Like they just sit back and invite the pressure, and they don't press, and that shit is gonna happen. And we're gonna drop points against Benfica, and we're gonna finish third.
Hey, silver lining, they don't have Darwin Nunez anymore. So
I know,
not
but
as
they
scary, but still.
I think they
scary.
I think they bought a replacement though, who is doing well.
Oof.
I don't know who it is, but
wow.
All right,
that's a hot take right there.
That is a hot take, actually.
We'll start next
it.
episode with that.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
okay, so Group F, Real Madrid, Leipzig, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Celtic. I actually can't wait to see Madrid go to Celtic, only because the atmosphere is going to be
that's gonna be
phenomenal. Those Scottish fans are crazy. But I feel like we can all confidently say Madrid's probably going to be top. Who do you think is going to be second, though? Like, do you think Leipzig is straight in there, or like maybe Celtic or Donetsk sneak in?
I think Leipzig end up doing it just because of the experience they have. If they don't lose in Kunku, which
that's true. Last days of the window,
he scored a PK. So he's. I think they finished second. The other thing that I want to say is Shakhtar is no like cakewalk. I mean, last year we lost to them. They were in our group last year, so they're scary. They're basically like Brazil 2.0 anyway. And then Celtic, pretty fun to see them back in the Champions League, man. They're one of those like classic teams, kind of like when Milan or Man United were not in the Champions League. And you're like, oh shit.
There's something to remember too. Like Celtic, they've slayed some giants. I mean, Barcelona, this was years and years ago. But still, I mean, they have those stints in Champions League where they're able to slay some giants. So,
and by the way, they won 9-0 last night. So just for what it's worth. I'm just kidding.
Of course they did. Anyway, in terms of Group C, really quickly, I'll dive into the reason why I'm doing this, but bro, I got Barcelona to win the fucking group, bro.
I'm walking out. I'm out of here.
I got Barcelona to win the group. I think Levo comes back in his whole team, shits on him, and I think that Inter is.
My gosh.
I think Inter is, bro. I think Inter is going to give Bayern a run for their money, bro. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Bayern ends up in third. Who knows? Look, I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch. I can't wait for Champions League, bro. And I have no problem saying that Barca's going to come in here and just smack some people around. But we'll see.
All I'm going to say is based on your predictions from last week. Just
hey, bro, that's fair. But hey, that's fair. That's fair. But to be fair, I mean, with that said, who the hell saw United beating Liverpool minus you? I think even you thought it was a troll.
No, dude, I had a feeling.
I wasn't trolling.
Yeah, see,
I know, but you got a jersey invested in it. That's different,
No, that's not true.
You got a jersey writing on this shit.
It was just a one-off game. Like whether they lost or won, like
that's
ultimately fair. you have another 30 games to go, so it's not that important.
Feeling, man. I mean, that's two ties for Liverpool the first 2 weeks. I was like, talk about a big occasion. United rose to the challenge.
Yeah, that's true. I think Europe is always a different story, right? I think that I bank on Liverpool to do what they got to do in Europe. I bank on certain big clubs to do what they got to do. So
agreed.
Anyway, super excited for next week, guys. We can talk about Champions League. We're hopefully gonna start introducing guests in September as well. That's going to be a really good time. And then we're going to get right back into global headlines, match results, everything in between. I want to thank Alina, Andre again, really quick for joining me on the episode. We'll have some more takes on the next one, and super excited for it. So, guys, really appreciate it. And again, Box to Box brought to you by GOLZtv coming this fall. Check that out. We'll see you again next time. Take care.